What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 117 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV and joined by Noxious, of course. What's up, buddy? Hey, you're
Not
moving.
much, man. Just
You're moving.
typical front. Yeah, I'll probably reframe the webcam because it's cropped expertly.
Oh man.
I will.
Okay.
I will say that I've been enjoying Hearthstone a lot. The past week, I'd say. Um, I've run into a bunch of my frustrations, repeatedly, but I'm finally wrapping my head around the meta, and it's feeling pretty awesome now. So that's what's up.
Yeah.
Hearthstone's fun again. Nailed it.
Nailed it. That's right. And returning to the show, want to welcome our good friend Disguise Toast. What's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about all the new happenings in Angora.
You sound excited, man.
Don't show too much energy, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to contain myself.
He's conserving it, man. Until he explodes during the deck.
Sure.
Yeah. But welcome. I mean, I'm glad everybody's able to tune in too today. I just want to throw out there that the show currently is supported by the Patreon. I always throw a shout out like in the middle of the show, but Noxious is like, you should just mention in the beginning. So I'm like, okay, I'll throw out a shout out. So yeah, you can support the show at patreon.com/valuetown and check out all our rewards and all the milestones there. But we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got our week in Angoro, just I guess what decks we've been working on and just our thoughts, all that good stuff. Of course, we'll dive deep into the deck portion of it with deck tech. We've got like 8 or 9 decks to talk about today, so that'll probably be most of the show. And then a lot of talk recently about the cost of playing Hearthstone recently, and folks really voicing their opinions on that. So I figured we would talk and see how we each feel about it. And then lastly, we've got some Q&A, of course, with some of the viewers and patrons. And if you guys are interested in writing in, go ahead and email valuetown@chanmanv.tv, and we'll try to get those in. Okay, our week in with, or Discovering Angoro. What do you guys think so far with the expansion? Thumbs up, thumbs down, medium? What do you guys think?
Huge thumbs up for me, man. Huge
Oh,
thumbs up.
wow.
So thumbs
Not
up
just
to
huge
Blizzard.
thumbs up.
Thumbs up to Blizzard for the
Yes.
expansion. Thumbs down to all of you nice people playing Pirate Warrior. I wish you could literally have your thumbs cut off. If I could cut off your thumbs and feed them to a ravenous beast that would hunt for your family afterwards, I would.
God. Wow.
But thumbs up to
wow. Okay. All right. Toast,
Thumbs up to Blizzard.
how about you, man?
No, it's to that point, it's very interesting whenever you run into a Pirate Warrior on ladder, especially on day 2 and 3, right? Because so Rogue's popular, and Rogue's Quest Rogue and Miracle Rogue, they're pretty weak to Pirate Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't like, still running Pirate Warrior in the first couple of days is like something that's very foreign to me. I get that it beats down the rogue guys, but don't you want to try something new? But yeah, I've been having a great time so far. So it's right now it's like day 6.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a month, but yeah, it's day 6.
Day 6. So like the meta has slightly been shaping up, but still very exciting. Still having fun. I don't know if this is like a thing that happens every expansion where everyone's like super happy.
You have a short memory because Karazhan people were pissed the next day.
Karazhan's an adventure, right? You have to compare it to Gaidazen and Old Gods. Like adventures, they just don't add enough to change it. But I don't know. Yeah. So far, like it's hard to say like what's a great deck. There's the popular guys like Taunt Warrior and Karen's Rogue, but yeah. Having a great time.
I feel like we've been, or every time I look, there's something tweeted that, it's the #1 ranked legend is reached by this, this or that, and it's like, whether it's a Miracle Rogue or it's the Taunt Warrior and by show, and it's it's kind of crazy, like that we're seeing that, and that's actually indicative of a good meta, or at least it's a good time where lots of people are trying different things.
I mean, that's the thing though, is we haven't had sorry if my audio level is too low, let me know so I can boost it up a bit. But just overall, the one thing we have to keep in mind is just how prone to net decking people are once big tournaments are over. Like right now we're in the phase where everybody's experimenting, trying to figure out what's good for themselves,
Yep.
what they like, and then once we have like a big lineup winner, people are gonna flock to the big lineup winners, and then we're all gonna have like 5 decks because you have to counter the guy. Like if let's assume Pirate Warrior wins, right? Then suddenly you have to play decks that only beat that, and then suddenly it becomes a matter of rock paper scissors between 3 decks. So I would like it's almost better if we don't have these tier lists for a long time after the expansion. But at least this time around, I've got a good feeling like many classes can counter the same type of deck. Like there are many ways, there are many decks that can play control and beat aggro. And as opposed to being, oh, this one class is the only one that has a good win rate, so you're defaulting to it constantly.
Yeah.
That's kind of how Endora feels.
It's
I
kind
mean,
of go ahead.
so like day one, we started seeing that. So Dog made the Quest
Rogue.
Yeah, and he got like rank 1. And then I looked through the stats, like that particular deck list that Dog came up with was like the most popular deck played by like 30 times the second most popular deck. So it's like everyone saw that was doing well, and everyone just played it.
It wasn't even good.
I mean,
it was like
it's flashy.
It was very new,
it's very flashy.
Right.
People
Come on,
didn't know how to
like,
play against it. People don't know how to play with it. But now that it's kind of settled down, people understand it more. But yeah, it's like you're right. When we see a brand new deck at a tournament do well, you can expect to see a lot of people running that particular deck. Because Hearthstone's at that point where everyone really likes to net deck because they want to win.
Well, we're at the point not only net decking, it's just we're at the point where content makers and people on Reddit are just posting it, nonstop too. So it's hard to miss it, to be honest. If you're on Twitter, you're anything, I mean, you're constantly seeing decks, and for a lot of people, it's great. I think that people don't have time to go and figure out, what the best deck is for themselves. I think people like us, I think it might be the opposite because we like to just discover things ourselves, but to each their own, right? And I think majority of the people do like to try out decks that the pros are playing. But I was, watching global games, which is going on right now, and even just watching that, everybody's playing different stuff, which is really cool to see. And I mean, I just saw Kalento playing his Paladin, that mid-range elemental hand buffing Paladin, that's been going around recently. And so that was really great to see. So definitely we're far from having things established. What do you guys think is the strongest stuff right now in the meta?
Sorry?
What do you think is the strongest deck right now in the meta?
Well, statistically, it's
God.
Taunt Warrior.
Interesting.
God.
Taunt
Warrior.
I mean, Taunt Warrior, they have a really good tool in their quest for control matchups and Sulfuras. And they match up pretty good against any aggro decks as well, due to like their legion of taunts.
Right.
Yeah, but I think Miracle Rogue, if played properly, is like insanely good.
Yeah, there's also something to be said about the Vanish Quest Rogue. Like I've seen some people play that. Like the thing is, like the tournament meta and the ladder meta are going to be very different because where Taunt Warrior is amazing against certain things in tournaments, it's potentially targetable. Like you can definitely make your deck better against it. But on ladder, you have to worry about aggro, and a percentage of those decks being aggressive means you can't play some techs that are slow, right? Like so the only slow deck you have to default to is one that has a good matchup against both. On average, jam it on the ladder, which is why Taunt Warrior is so has such good results across the board. Whereas other control decks tend to suffer more for trying to diversify the game plan. The game plan of Taunt Warrior is so linear and straightforward that you just cover both sides of the matchups.
Yeah, it might be too early to start hating on a deck, but I hate Taunt Warrior already.
It's so easy to play too. I mean, there's nothing to it. It is Dragon Priest like in terms of linear stone, right, or curved stone. So I hope it's not strong for too long. I hope Black Knight makes an appearance a little bit more too to help out with that. Get some huge value for killing some of those big taunts. But it sucks because it takes away a lot of the control meta. You know, like all those mages that were cool. You can't beat that Taunt Warrior right now.
You can do actually. Exodia Mage beats it because
Does
it
it?
has infinite damage, right?
You
Yeah, if
gotta
he can
dodge
get
those
there,
dirty
though.
rats.
If he can get, yeah, he can dodge those dirty
Oh
rats.
yeah,
and he
that's
can
right.
get
I keep
there.
forgetting they're not all playing Dirty Rats on curve. On curve, they're all playing Dirty Rats on curve.
I don't know why
dude.
they're playing on curve.
I'm so
though.
triggered. Like, so you know what? Thumbs up to Blizzard, but that quest, guys. Like, oh man, that's
yeah,
like
I always thought that
Ah.
deck needed an accompanying finishing game with Sulfuras, but right now it doesn't need it, which surprised me.
But
Maybe
why would
eventually.
it? It's 8 damage return. Like the most frustrating thing is they're the class with Brawl. Honestly, I've had mirror matches of that deck, and it's nothing but a clown fiesta. Already there, I think this is gonna completely. This makes me lose a lot of interest in the mirror match. Where I mean, I remember back in the days of Golden Monkey, right? Like
Yeah.
the matchups, if played properly, came down to, well, who has the best Golden Monkey, yada yada, who gets Sylvanas on the board, who has to dump their hand the first because they didn't draw in the right order.
Yeah.
But now it's so much more blatant than this. It's like, we're both going to complete our quest. We're both going to brawl each other. We're both going to 50-50 for the win. Let's flip coins. And this is no exaggeration. We're actually flipping coins.
It is a lot.
And that
of
is
flipping coins.
just so bad to watch and play. I hope it doesn't come to that in tournament play, man. I really hope so, because this is just going to be terrible.
Yeah. Well, you can almost guarantee that's gonna happen because at least this first events or the first few events will have Taunt Warrior in it. I'd be shocked if it didn't. I mean, it counters like Pirate Warrior very well too, right? So
Right.
It's going to be at least the anti-aggro deck. But no, I just felt like I think eventually we might get to the point where I don't know, maybe in a Zoth play just purely for the two big, the hatchling I think it's hatchling, right, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Direhorn
Yeah,
Hatchling. Some
Direhorn,
people do
yeah.
play it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Seen
yeah.
some people play it, and they've also included Invested Tauren in some lists, just
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
increase
just
the value of
the
it.
Zoth,
so-
yeah. I feel like that will be necessary just to give it a little bit more value than it is right now. But any cards surprise you guys, like in this first week?
I think Radiant Elemental, along with Shadow Visions, is really, really solid. The consistency you can get, the combo pieces, going off a big Lyra turn. That was really surprising.
Yeah.
To see just how, the effect is, it's Sorcerer's Apprentice, and Shadow Visions basically replace get a card from your deck, but like combined together, it's just really solid. I've seen Temple Priest lists, Purify Priest lists, OTK
We're going to
Priest
talk
lists.
about a bunch here today.
But yeah, very, very solid card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of surprises, I'd say Evolving Spores. Like, I was excited for that card, but not too much. Like, I was like, you know what? I know Living Mana might be good in Token Druid. That just seems like a good card. But Evolving Spores, I was like, we have Soul of the Forest already. We've got Savage Roar already. This is a bit of both, but not quite either. And it's kind of hard to justify running an extra spell in a deck that wants to go wide on minions, but it's been like absolutely marvelous. Sometimes you just get, Poisonous on a bunch of 1/1s win the game. Plus 3 attack on a bunch of 1/1s win the game. Death Rattle, summon plants. Like, everything just seems to work so well with that card. And I feel like not enough Druid lists are running it yet in the token archetypes at the very least. That's something I think will change in the future if the deck stays around, of course.
I thought it was the only crazy one that I thought it was good. Remember, I was talking about Evolving Spores, and everybody was looking at me like, dude, that's a terrible
Well,
card.
it was. I
dude.
think it was half. It's like
was
it may not
terrible
even
card.
be better than Roar and Soul of the Forest. Like, you might just default to those. But it turns out having the one of Evolving Spores is pretty damn solid. Yeah.
It's having a third Savage Roar or Soul of the Forest. That's the key. That's just having another one. And it's the same with Shadow Vision. That's why Shadow Vision was so high, like one of my top 5 cards, is because getting a third Divine Spirit.
Whoa,
or
you didn't like it.
Shadow Vision? No, well, in the very beginning I did. My top 5 was
Okay.
on my top 5. What do you mean?
Oh yes, you mean
Yeah.
last show. Sorry,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you meant at the beginning of the
No,
reveal.
no,
you're
remember I
right.
told you, like,
It wasn't
the
your top
more
5
and
Blood
more,
Bloom
and
as
then
you
finally,
brewed more and more
yeah,
decks. My
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, and then by the end, by literally the day before, it was
Yeah.
my top 5, and it was
Yeah.
just all about being able to not only track, like the cards you need at the given moment for whatever like a combo finish, but also you just get a third of these cards that you're meant to only get 2 of, and I think that's the part that was super interesting for me.
Or a fourth Dragon
or a
Fire
fourth.
Potion. Right, why not?
Yeah, exactly, right. As far as surprise cards, man, I'm trying to think of anything that's been super surprising for me. I mean, definitely Mimic Pod and some of these cards that are very actually getting played and things like that, surprise me. But it's very specific to that one quest.
Boar.
So, yeah, the boar. I mean,
Stone Tusk Boar surprised me.
I started to watch a Twitter conversation between, I think, Zalay and somebody else about whether Shield Bearer or I forget what the other one drop was a better
Shield Bearer, Biofin, Glacial Shard.
To actually put in your deck. Yeah. Oh, it's Voodoo Doctor. It's whether Voodoo Doctor or Shield Bearer was better in your Quest Rogue deck. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was a big surprise, right? Quest Rogue. No one really expected it. I mean, it wasn't that people were kind of like ignored it, but it was almost panned as one of the worst quest cards out there.
Yeah.
The meme quest is like, people made jokes about it. People rated it 1 star in their card reviews, and it turns out, day 1 was like really good, and I think it's still good.
I think it's good. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's just strong. It's definitely one of the few playable quest decks out there.
So I'll say one thing about the quest though. That's my opinion on the quest. People want it nerfed, and I think that's at this point not justified. But as time passes, because the first list we've got were so autopilot, it was ridiculous. Like you just played minions, you bounce them, you play them, ha ha ha. And then the meta game changed to where you can't just do that anymore. You actually have to draw your deck, bounce at the right time, play a single copy or 2 copies of Sap, play Vanish, cut Eviscerates out of your deck because you have to bounce more. And it becomes like an old school Miracle Rogue where you have to fetch that win condition and that bounce to get the quest completed, and then you have to juggle your bounces correctly to get the win. As time passes, I feel like the skill ceiling on that deck just increases because the counters are so readily available, and it becomes a very specialized deck. And I like that it's not going to stay the same brain dead thing it was on day 1, where it was just way too simple to pilot because no one knew what to do against it.
I still believe that there's a definite future for that quest. It's a slower version of it. Like it's one that's going to run like, Vile, the Slayer, just removing in that kind of fashion. And we've seen some with Vanishes, but I think that's too gimmicky and things like that. But I just see it as a mid-range Jade, type of mechanic. And that can't be bad in my opinion, especially with like tokens and easy ways to get replicable minions on the board, Moreaus and those type of things. So over time, I think that'll get refined, and I think that Tempo Rogue that this will be a way for Tempo Rogue to be a thing. It's not, I don't know if you count it as a Tempo Rogue at this point. It's like a combo rogue, more than it's a Tempo Rogue. But I think we'll see that. Did you guys see the Shirazan Seed Rogue, the Miracle Shirazan deck?
Rogue, the new Miracle Rogue.
Yeah. I guess that's just basically the new Miracle Rogue. Oh my god, that's disgusting. Really good. It's disgusting. It's really good. I had a guy spawn it 5 times on me. I'm serious. I mean, I'm not even joking. That's 5 times on me.
That's like the meme version of the Miracle Rogue, but the more competitive version is like, the one that plays 2 hallucinations and 2 swashbucklers. I can't like honestly, I don't think I've ever seen Hearthstone be so competitively random. I don't know how to put it. Like every deck just randomly generates stuff from the nether, and it's one of these things where like you're almost forced into playing around nothing because there's just nothing you can expect. I get fireballed and molten geysered by rogues. I get holy fired by rogues. I get shadow word pained and shadow madness by rogues. I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. Like you just play your solitaire game, and I'm gonna play cards and try to kill you faster because I can't start playing around your value. It's ridiculous. I
mean, we've talked about that obviously, right, with the babbling books in the past.
But I did not anticipate it would reach the scale in every.
I mean, it's going.
Every class, dude. It's in every class.
It is, but it definitely is. But I mean, the thing is I don't know. You know that it's Hearthstone, right? I mean, at this point, I think we have to we have to accept it. No, but the cool thing about the quest, let's just talk about that, right? If they are going to add this kind of RNG aspect of it, at least it might be solitaire, but it's kind of interesting the way they did it. Like I always compare it to Heroes of the Storm. They basically added a Heroes of the Storm element into Hearthstone, which is if I can reach this secondary objective, which is not the objective of the designed game. The objective of the designed game is to just do 30 damage or, you know, kill your opponent, right? Kill your opponent's hero. Mm-hmm. If I achieve this objective, then all of a sudden achieving the primary objective becomes super easy. And, you know, that kind of solitary game, yeah, generally I would have normally, you know, complained about it if it was like Freeze Mage of the past and things like that, or just, you know, kind of been frustrated with it. But now it's like it's actually part of the game mechanic, and it makes it a little bit more acceptable in my mind than before. You know, I still would prefer at the highest of levels in pro games, where, you know, them reading each other and making these amazing plays. But, you know, that's what we got. This is definitely the game, right? Go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah. I guess at this point, like, honestly, I like where Rogue is standing, though. You know, for all the naysayers, I knew Quest Rogue. The thing with Quest Rogue is, I think a lot of people, and that's the one thing I didn't like very much about the reviews, is not that people said, "Oh, this quest is unplayable." I could agree with them saying this quest is not going to be easy to accomplish, but a lot of people said the payoff wasn't good. And that's what blew my mind. Like, the payoff is not good. That payoff is great. The payoff is fantastic. The issue was, do you get it in time? And as it turns out, you do get it in time. And that's what I like. I like that payoff is a win condition. Mm-hmm. And I like that as time passes, it's going to be refined into something that's probably more complex than just play Firefly, Shadow Step, Firefly, Shadow Step, you know, bounce, Shadow Step. It's going to be a bit more complex than that.
So we all at least agree that it doesn't need to be changed.
I don't think it does, but we'll see what comes up next. Maybe it does at some point, but, you know, if they can go prep vanish on a taunt warrior and smash them in the face for 40, I'm fine. I don't mind. Go. Wow. Do it again, Rogue. Again and again and again.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Quest Rogue is very weak to aggressive decks, right?
Mm-hmm. Super
Fire Warrior, or like, you know, Token Druid, or like even mid-range hunter can give them a lot of trouble. So it's not like the deck is without weakness. Like, my problem is decks that, you know, are just good against everything. So, you know, it's definitely the first, you know, strong deck of the expansion. But it's slowly being, you know, figured out. So people were calling nerfs on day one. It's like they're gonna nerf this shit like within a week. I'm like, oh, it's really too early, and it has very obvious weaknesses. So unfortunately, it's one of the weaknesses is Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It keeps it relevant.
If you play Pirate Warrior, it's like, I kind of hate you, but then again, you're beating on rogues, so
which I would hate otherwise, right? No, that's literally. I feel like that's one of the main reasons why Pirate Warrior, you know, was staying relevant. I mean, Pirate Warrior is still the fastest aggro deck too, so it's always going to have a place. But with all the taunts and everything, I just felt like it was naturally going to be countered, and the Galaka just being a non-weapon counter too was an interesting thing. But it's still very, very present, which is crazy. Yeah.
And one of the more frustrating, the good thing, good or bad things, like whenever I play Warrior now, I'm like, which one is it?
Yeah, I know, they're both good.
I feel like they're both equally likely. So what I do, I'm giving away my secret, is I look at the mulligans, right? And if they hover over the first card for more than like a couple seconds, I'm like, look, if you're Quest Warrior, you're not gonna hover over your first card. So like, if I see them hover, I'm like, I'm assuming it's Pirate Warrior, and I just mulligan for it.
That's a good tell. That's a totally good tell. And for those of you wondering what he's talking about, you always get your quest. If you're a Quest Warrior, your quest is always the leftmost card in your hand. So
the leftmost card.
Yeah, unless it's a first-time player and he's reading it for the first time. He literally just got in his first pack or something like that. Yeah, but so yeah, with Rogue, maybe I still think down the road it might be considered, but right now there's definitely no reason to change it for sure, or at least even consider changing it. I love how people were so wrong about the Hunter quest, though. I mean, that's the worst quest right now.
We all agreed it was going to be bad, right? Like,
we
everybody
did
on this show just agreed it was going to be bad, and as it turns out, that quest, like, it's got nothing for now. I mean, if somebody comes up with like a list that makes it work, props. But I just can't fathom how skipping turn 1 as a hunter right now with all the quality 1-drops you've got makes sense. Like I just don't spot it.
Like, I mean, for me, I didn't think it was gonna be bad, but like some people's reaction was like, "This is broken." Like,
I mean,
this is
it's not
gonna
just good;
destroy
it's
Hearthstone.
broken. Oh my goodness!
Like, I mean, the quest reward's not too bad. Like 5 mana AA, 1 mana draw a card. So essentially, you pay 1 mana to cycle your deck, have a 3/2. That's really strong, but
not
ending. It's weak to AOE, right? It's weak to AOE, and at the end of the day, let's say you play 6 Raptors in a row, you have 4 mana left over. It's so weak to AOE, and your entire deck is just extremely, full of low drops, right? Like, yeah, it was it was quite the reaction, and I mean, this is just every expansion, right? The worst card reviewed turns out to be really good. The best card reviewed turned out.
It's only happened one time. It's only happened one time, Trogzor. I mean, even Dr. Boom was not, like just deemed the weakest by a lot of people. There were a lot of pros that thought Dr. Boom would be good, but this is Trogzor happening all over again. I think for a lot of people, which is hilarious. But yeah, that quest is bad. I mean, it's just, you hope for the dream, you hope for the pain train dream, right? The raptor train dream, and you don't even get it half the time. So it's pretty tough. I played it with Hemet in the Tundra Rhino, and that was maybe like the closest thing I could do for it. Yeah.
I mean, it does, but what does it help you do? Like realistically, I think maybe like if you're up against a control deck, and you think you can get there, but it seems like Hunter's best chance against control is just play mid-range, drop Bittertide, high drop high main, go. It's like it's one of those things where there's no real reason to play 1 mana 3/2s against them unless you can do some degenerate thing, which right now doesn't seem to exist.
We're back to the tempo hunter, and that's fine. That's all. That's always going to be what they're good at. I mean, so
maybe the reason why the quest isn't good is because the mid-range is just so much better. We're seeing just the return of mid-range hunter Crackling Razor Maw. My God, that card is
crazy good. It even makes Fledgling good, which is awesome. Which is crazy good.
Like turn 1 Alley Cat, turn 2 Razor Maw. You go for poisonous, destroy big taunt, or like Flaming Claws, and that's a 4/1. You kind of have to deal with. I think Razor Maw itself is just such a big deal, and making mid-range hunter good.
All right. Well, we're talking a lot about decks. We might as well just start jumping into the decks that we wanted to talk about today. So, speaking of the hunter, why don't we just talk about the hunter? Yeah, I mean, we might as well just kind of bring this one up here. And this one is Noxious. Noxious is Fledgling Hunter.
Fledgling.
I could have sworn I played this like literally right before the show against something like this right before the show.
Can we really call it a Fledgling Hunter? The only difference between this and other mid-range hunters is the fledglings instead of some other cards. So this is a very straightforward mid-range hunter deck. I realized somewhat early after I saw a bunch of people play hunter is Fiery Bat is not very good.
No.
I've been
but it's not
sort of disappointed with it.
Okay.
But
yeah, it's not a great card to play like late game, and if you play it turn 1, like it's easy to remove. Like coin hero power a lot of the time. Like with Alley Cat, you set up for Crackling Razor Maw, right? But like with Fiery Bat, coin hero power, or I mean, it's pressure, but as mid-range hunter, your win condition isn't like always going to be early pressure. You got Savannah's coming out. So yeah,
you're right. This is exactly the reason why I thought cutting it was a better idea, and so I found room for Galaka Crawlers, which have been much better. I mean, Quest Rogue is everywhere, non-Quest Rogue is everywhere. Druid plays Pirates. With the token versions.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Warrior clearly plays Pirates. I've even seen taught Warriors play Nazas First Mates and Patches just to get the early game anti-aggro going for sure. So they know they're locking out their opponents. So there's
a 2/3 at worst. I mean, he's not even bad. Like when you don't have anything.
So that was the reasoning. And the deck plays double Deadly Shot, double Eagle Horn Bow, because I felt like one of the big drawbacks of Hunter right now is there's a big minion in the way. And you're stuck not going through it. Even if we're talking about a Purify Priest, it sounds like a meme, but it's a real thing and it's playable in the meta. And they drop one big guy, you're out of it. In the mirror match, it's fantastic. They go Animal Companion. You have a 2-drop, Deadly Shot, that Animal Companion out of the way, and then you can resume getting the initiative. So this list is playing Fledglings because it's the type of card that, well, if it sticks, well, you win. If it sticks and goes face repeatedly, they can't possibly deal with it. And sometimes you just go Fledgling on 3, go face once, get +3 health, no Wind Fury, slam a Houndmaster on it, and then you have like a 5/8 with taunt, and they can't do anything. So.
But Fledgling is surprisingly like when we first reviewed it, right? I was like, if you can figure out how to, keep it on the board for a single turn, it's ridiculous. That card is anything with infinite value potentially is ridiculous. And getting a chance to finally see it, and when it gets on the board, and I literally have nothing, I'm playing Priest, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got nothing. I can't do anything to this guy. I'm so screwed. And then he hits me in the face.
It's insane.
He gets an added 6 health, or he gets freaking stealth or divine shield, and it's like he hits me again, and he gets something else. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, getting Wind Fury on the first one must feel so good.
I know, right?
Like 3/3. All right, Wind Fury, head face again. Well, it's a 3/6. Can remove. Well, Flaming Claws, Divine Shield. Yeah, it's very unassuming, but it's one of those things like leaving up for even one turn is so like snowballing.
I mean, what have we learned, right? What have we learned from Volcanosaur? Adapt once.
It's good.
Adapt twice. What the hell?
Volcanosaur is good. I mean, that's what
Volcanosaur's fine. He's great in like some decks, like Curator Paladin can play Volcanosaur.
He can play it in this deck, dude.
No, it's too slow. It's way I can't play Bittertide Hyena in this deck. I mean Hydra, it's too slow. But for something that's trying to curve out like very late in the game, I think that Volcanosaur is a lot better than people are giving it credit for. It just happens to, well, lose to the now run Hunter's Marks. It loses to some of the stuff that's run like Execute and Taunt Warrior. It gets sapped in Rogue now because they're starting to play sap again. They've decided they wanted to do that. So it still suffers from being, you need to high roll both adapts. But the Fledglings are 3-drop, the double adapts. It's just, and it's standalone.
You can adapt to that kind of, you can counter that just by picking the one that you can't target
lucky.
hero. You can't target hero, right?
Yeah.
Or stealth.
Kind of lucky.
Either one. You got 2 shots at it. So, it's a good finish.
It's too costly to high roll. Like a 7 mana, get high roll is too much. I need to play something consistent at that cost.
I think it was Orange or somebody that had a deck that was inspired by Orange that was playing Volcanosaur, like one of them. Cool. Yeah, and it was pretty good. But yeah, Hunter's back, guys. I mean, it's not that different than what we've seen in the past, at least from an archetype standpoint. It's just like a better, faster version of a tempo Hunter. But it's good to see, though. Yeah. I mean, I think Hearthstone's always a good place when Hunter is showing its muscle by pounding you in the first 5 turns, basically.
Yeah, it's I mean, we're glad that it's back right now. We'll see in a couple of months. Like, you never know. It's fun to try and predict which deck is gonna be the most complained about deck. Like right now, we haven't seen Hunter in such a long time. It's like, oh, Hunter, you're back. Oh, you're playing mid range with new cards. But I'm sure like in 3 months, it's like, oh my god, Alley Cat, Razor Maw, Hyena, Houndmaster.
I'll be honest, like I already have those moments with the Bittertide lists where they just go, turn 1 Alley Cat, turn 2 Razor Maw, turn 3 Huffer, turn 4 Houndmaster, turn 5 Hyena.
Games like that, you just
Hydra, turn 6 Highmane, turn 7 Highmane. I'm just like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. But for the most part, I feel like the deck is, it still goes face a lot, right? But get it off the board, it stays off the board, and that's like something that feels kind of good.
Yeah, it doesn't feel overpowered. I mean, it does feel like old Hunter. Like Hunter's finally getting the advantages they used to have. Like the Razor Maul helps a lot early game, and things like Rat Pack finally are getting a shot at really having just a type of value and some type of impact on the board too, right? Just leaving minions on the board generally now feel bad, when you're playing against Hunter. And that used to be how you defined Hunter, and that kind of went away for like the last year. So it's kind of good that we're getting back at that. And then the Hydra just feels like It feels like a 4-mana 7/7 whenever it comes down.
Yeah,
It's just like,
does.
okay, like either I have an answer for it or I just lose this game. Like that's just how it goes.
It's in Purify Priest as well too. So.
Yeah. Any type of have you had the game where you just abuse that Hydra and do like 24 damage to the opponent? Have you or anything like that?
Yeah, I've done it once against a druid, and I haven't done to me when playing Purify Priest. It's hilarious when it happens, right?
Yeah.
But like there's very specific decks that can do it. Like Hunter with Unleash the Hound is probably the best way to just kill someone. Like there's been positions where I had a huge board and a Hydra. If my Hunter opponent has an Unleash the Hound, he instantly kills me. And like I mean that's the drawback, right? But
that's so funny, man.
It's very specific decks that can punish you, like lots of little guy decks.
Yeah, I had a guy go Bittertide Hydra, Purify Priest, and I was playing Vulcan or Shaman, so he didn't silence it off because he didn't think, you know, this would matter at all, which most of the time he's right, but I was like, well, you're down to 6 health, bro. You're good luck. And he went, wow, ...
wow,
and proceeded to heal himself for 2 turns before conceding.
Right.
That was a fun time.
All right, well, we got a bunch of other decks here, so why don't we get started on some of these others? We got a bunch of priests, so let's talk about a couple of these priests first. Let's start with Toast. Actually, you guys both have a Silence Purify Priest, and I was going to show one too, but it's very, very similar to you guys, so might as well just talk about both here. A little bit of differences. Toast, yours is on the left.
Pretty similar. Like, I actually think Noxious's list might be a bit better because what I have is Arcanized Soul Priest and Circle of Healing for board clear, but for me, it's like it hasn't done that much work. Like, it's great to clear a board, but
good against
like,
Hunter.
Stuff like that.
It's good against Hunter.
Good against Hunter. Yeah. But then again, you're running like 3/8 4/8 taunts with Sun Fury, Divine Shield. Like, I think like it helps the matchup where you're already favored, but it doesn't really help the matchup where you're unfavored. So I think that's probably what I cut for like Shadow Visions, for more consistency. We both run Bittertide Hydra.
Yes.
I think the logic behind that is because your opponent is trying to remove all your big stuff with, Humongous Razor Leaf, Shambler, or silence the Humongous with Divine and Innerfire. They're like, oh my god, I need to get rid of this right away. And you slam down your Bittertide. It's like, oh, well, I'm out of removals. And obviously, an 8/8, you can still Divine, Innerfire for 32 damage. So yeah, Bittertide is really solid.
You can silence it too. It's removing the negative aspects of it too.
Purify is in fact not garbage anymore.
I know. It's awesome.
It's actually like when I played in that deck, I still feel bad because I'm just
I dropped
my
one.
bets.
I dropped one. Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it ends up being like you play double Shadow Visions, 1 Purify, 2 Silences, because there's so many, especially with Bittertide lists, right, or lists with Priest of the Feast like the one I've got on the right. Where you have minions that are buffable anyway, right? And you don't need them to be silenced off to make their magic happen. Because Purify is still really, really slow. There are cases where you just like Radiant Elemental, which is why I love the card in the deck, where you get Radiant Elemental, a free powered shield, right? After you Purify, and that's fantastic. But other times, Purify is 2 mana on an Ancient Watcher, and you're just like, God, what am I doing? This is a Yeti. Like, I just paid for a full Yeti in this metagame. This isn't happening. So,
well, I mean,
I've been somewhat ambivalent on 2 copies of it, but so far, regardless of whether or not it's good as a 1 or 2 of, the fact that it's even anywhere near a competitive deck is enough to be happy.
Exactly. No, I think Purify is fine, especially... well, it helps with the issue of cycle, and Toast, you're running an Acolyte of Pain over there too, and both of you guys are running both clerics. But generally speaking, you want to draw through this deck quickly because a lot of times you'll just be stuck with all these spells that do nothing for you, and card draw is super important in this deck. So I think Purify functions that way. A lot of times I literally just Purify nothing, or just my normal minion, just so I can draw at times. But yeah, it's not too bad. going through these decks just for folks listening. So Toast's deck has Circle, Silence, Inner Fire, Northshire Cleric, Powered Shield, Ancient Watcher, Divine Spirit, Purify, Sun Fury Protector for taunts, Acolyte of Pain, Humongous Razor Leaf, Cabal, Talon Priest, Aconite Soul Priest, Faceless Shambler, Bittertide Hydra, and Cabal Song Stealer. With the Talon Priest, that's one of the cards I was considering dropping or not. Like that's, I feel like flex. I wasn't sure how
I
good
think
it's
Cabal
for you
Talon
guys.
Priest is just solid.
Is it super good? Okay.
I mean, buy a minion by itself, and it has such insane synergy with so much of your cards. You know, even Shambler. You know, you can duplicate the buff, Divine, Inner Fire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very unassuming, right? It's just 3 mana, 3 for a buff a minion, but it's such a core card. I feel like you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with the Radiant Elemental in the deck, like I used to run Sunfury Protectors, and it was worse there because you never curved. But when you go Radiant Powered Shield as a 2/5, it lives. You then make it a 2/8. Suddenly, they're never pushing you off until you finally get that combo together. I think that's maybe where I know how you feel though, Chan, man. Like I felt like Cabal Talon Priest was a burden. It just did nothing. It just kind of sat there as a 3 mana 3/4. It was a spider tank half the time. But as I transitioned away from the whole Argus Sun Fury play, turned out that card just got much better.
Right.
Which I think is why I don't like the taunt plan as much as I used to. I started off with it and I ended up just phasing it away. I think this list I've got on the right is actually similar, if not identical, to that of a guy named Seven Hearth in the Chinese servers.
Okay.
Which started off the trend of cutting Shadow Visions and going for Priest of the Feast.
Yeah, and Noxious's version, guys, Silence, Inner Fire, Northshire Cleric, Powered Shield, Ancient Watcher, Divine Spirit, Purify, Radiant Elemental, that's where the difference is, Shadow Vision, and then also Humongous, Cabal Talon Priest, Barnes, which is nice because you can actually silence the 1/1s and turn them into, big Priest of the Feast or Razor Leafs, whatever, right? It's just an extra possibility there. The Shamblers, Priest of the Feast, Bitter Hydra, and then Cabal Song Stealer. Okay, so one card missing from this thing, and it's the one that's like, I just pulled my hair out and just finally had to take it out, is Lyra. So thoughts on Lyra, and, did you guys try it? What were the pitfalls of it? Because you guys basically, I think, concluded the same thing.
I mean, Lyra is solid. If you're running the Radiant Elemental Shadow Visions, like not the silenced version, but like the more OTKE comboing one. But yeah, like sometimes you just run out of cards and you replenish your hand. With Radiant Elemental, like there's a lot of cheap pre-spells. If you can combo with Radiant Elemental, it's very easy to just refill your hand. And like, even though there's a lot of bad cards, but you're already running the bad cards. I mean, traditionally bad cards are Divine Spirit and Inner Fires. But when you're running Lyra, you're running a deck that takes advantage of those bad cards.
And they're free
and you
too.
Can make, you can really make it work to your advantage. So, like when people said Lyra was really, unplayable, it's not turning out to be true. I think Lyra is very solid, but obviously there are some cases where you get Lyra and it's like, well, I don't have any spells, I don't have any Radiant Elemental, so I'll just get one card from it.
It's a late game play for sure, or at least when you want to get that crazy value. But
I mean, can we all appreciate how good Lyra is in, like, with Burgley Bully? Can we please just stop for a moment and appreciate how sick she is? Because because I've played with, like, honestly, I've played mostly Priest, if not exclusively Priest, since the release. Exaggerating a bit, but that's the trend. I climbed with Purify Priest and Reno Priest. Reno Priest got me to rank 3. So for what it's worth, it's still alive.
Talk about Reno Priest here.
And
let's bring it up. Let me bring it up while you're talking about it.
But
I mean, Lyra's in here, right? Lyra's in here.
Lyra, yeah, she is absolutely bonkers, and she's not like, Mike Donay said she might be too strong. The truth is, when she does degenerate things, she feels too strong. Like she does sometimes, like when you go, all right, Radiant Elemental, Lyra, coin, Power Shield for free, silence an enemy minion, Potion of Madness an enemy minion, Shadow Word Pain an enemy minion, Shadow Visions the Shadow Word Death. You just keep cycling and cycling and cycling and cycling. She feels completely inane. She's like a self-contained Gadgesan auctioneer. And in those situations, I agree with Donay's assessment. Like I've had games where I just go, Lyra, get the right stuff. She's now a 2020, and she goes face for 20 because I found the right spells, and I think her power stems from the fact that she's a value card, and then so much of Priest right now of their game plan seems to revolve around value. Kyr's Glimmerroot, Crystalline Oracle, just trying to cycle themselves into new cards.
Yeah.
You've got some people running a single copy of Thoughtsteal. The fact they're running Shadow Visions to duplicate spells.
Really?
She's just
Why do you
everything.
need Thoughtsteal? I have no idea. Given that every one of your cards Death Rattle gives you a card from your opponent's deck.
I mean, honestly, I think like Reno Priest, this list I have may not be perfectly refined, but it's viable. It'll get you to Legend, assuming you play, perfectly fine. You don't run into 7
That's
rogues
cool.
in a row like I did.
Yeah. No,
at
that's
the end.
It's definitely so. It doesn't even play Quest.
No, Quest is actually the worst thing about Priest right now. I'm not even sure if that's
Huh.
ever going to see play. I would
Yeah.
love for
Yeah.
Quest to be played, but it's just I tried to reword. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Priest Quest, right? For audio listeners who might not know about it, you have to play the quest on turn 1, and it takes the card slot in your hand, and then you have to summon 7 Death Rattles to then get a 5-drop that then sets your health to 40. Now, 7 Death Rattles, on paper, you're thinking, cool, that seems doable, until you realize all you're getting is a Reno you still have to pay for, and you're losing a card in your opening hand. So if you rephrase
Yeah,
it, it's pay 6 mana, then summon 7 Death Rattles, then set your health, and you have to draw your Death Rattles. It's not just you have to.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as just drawing 1 Reno. No. You have to draw 7 specific cards in order to then get a chance at a good Reno. Like, this is so far removed from viability.
It's not hard to do if you're trying to finish it. I mean, you can finish it in like 8 turns.
Yeah, but then your deck sucks because all you've got is card draw.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. But I'm just saying it's not terrible. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it just has a really bad matchup. Like against aggressive decks, it's great. You're down to your 3-4 health, and then you play your 40 health. Like if you can pull it off against Pirate, it's a game-winning play. But when you consider every other decks out there right now, like Tom Warrior, you can set your health to 40. He has a hero power that deals 8 damage every single turn. He has big minions, and maybe you can outvalue him like in the very long run. But
yeah,
it's very unlikely because his hero power, his quest reward is way better than your quest reward. I think it's Miracle Rogue. It's like, Miracle Rogue's not looking to burst you, like deal damage, and then finish you off. They're making big turns. They have 4 attack minions. They drop Arcane Giants. Then, Koblids. So it's like, it's not a very good meta for it. Like even aggressive deck, you're running Crystalline Oracle, which is not very defensive. You're running Loot Hoarders, which like Infested Torrents is probably a good Death Rattle defensive minion, but there's not too much. And the Tortolan Shell Raiser.
Yep.
But a lot of times it just feels like it's weak against control, and against aggro, it's not that strong.
Bad. It's just outright bad against aggro. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's
just
missing
gonna
a push. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like sometimes a Taunt Warrior, right? Taunt Warriors don't keep their quests against aggro. Why? Because it's an extra card that's not removal or taunt. So they just pitch it.
Right.
If they know
You
it's gonna be
should.
an aggro.
I think that's the correct play.
And that's the problem, is that if Priest builds their deck to complete the quest, then it does nothing good aside from completing the quest. So mulliganing the quest away is like throwing away every single card you put in your deck and their purpose. So you're going to be cycling into more 2/1s that draw you cards and more 1/1s.
Yeah.
And you're just going to do nothing all game. And then the moment you top deck your quest, you just lose.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I think quest decks that are based around going all in on it are really bad. Like Quest Rogue is kind of like that, but there's so much way to complete it. You're not committing too hard to completing your quest, right? But with something like Paladin Quest, you're literally building your entire deck off that Galvadon, and you need to win with the Galvadon. You can't win without it.
Have we seen Galvadon yet? Galvadon sightings. How many have you guys seen? I have not seen it yet, dude.
I've played a bunch of it. Well, a bunch. I played like a dozen games. That's a bunch given how bad it did. I had to put myself through that because I really wanted to make that deck work. Yeah. And the only version of that deck that I could make work was a mid-range paladin deck that topped off a Tyrion and Ragnaros Lightlord and played like a value game with Stonehill Defender and shit. And so you just basically sprinkled in buffs and you tried to smash them with a Primal Fin champion. You had to not run into Rogue with Sap and Shamans with Hex or Priest with some kind of stealing effect. So you had to basically dodge all that stuff, get your buffs back, or draw like a god, and then you had Galvadon. You're just like, yeah, never mind. Let me just put like 8 actual good cards in my deck, and then you actually make an elemental paladin deck with. Yeah,
Thank God somebody made the Sunkeeper, because if they didn't make the Sunkeeper, the paladin would be trash potentially, or there wouldn't be anything new about it. You could still be playing hand buff Murlocs if you wanted, but
I mean, the Galvadon Dream is great, right? Wind Fury, Stealth, Attack.
I've done it once.
But it still takes 2 turns to do it.
It's
not even.
And then you're up against Freeze Mage, you're up against Taunt Warriors with like 5 like Stonehill Defender 1-force that's taking like 15 damage from a Galvadon, and you don't hit them in the face. So it's just too much commitment on one strategy that is so easily broken.
Yeah, I agree.
Why is 6 buffs? Like, why is Rogue 4 bounces and Paladin is 6 buffs? I feel like in order to complete the Galvadon quest on Curve, but to complete the Galvadon quest and get him early enough that it matters, it had to be 4 buffs. And then maybe it has a chance to be done consistently. And because to me, that quest is harder and much more all in to make than the Rogue quest. Like the Rogue quest is all in, but the payoff is huge. Like, I get 1 shot at killing you. 1. I'm Galvadon. Well, you get like as many bounces as you've got in your deck to kill me.
It's also the fact that I think if you would make it less, you'd have to make Galvadon like 1 less adapt or
no.
I mean,
even if you jam him and like it dies to everything.
But that's what I mean. The issue right now is just that reward is something that's not that hard to counter. It's kind of like the Hunter one. Hunter one, any kind of AoE spell literally counters it. If you have 2 of them, you literally counter the whole thing. If you have 1 of them, you're pretty much good too. And that's the issue with, compare that to the Rogue. The Rogue, all AoE doesn't counter those boards. Like 5 damage across the board is not very common in the game. Like I think only 2 classes have it readily. Like with spells, or at least you can run 2 of them, I believe. So it's not very easy to do that. Where a Galvadon, I mean, you literally have anything like a deadly shot or I don't know, freezing trap. Anything like that completely counters it. And
dude, I've been vanished. Like
vanished.
I've had games where I'm like against Quest Rogue and I just jam their face off with aggro and I just all my 1-cost spells and I get Galvadon on curve. And I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be so sick. And then it's just like Cold Light, prep, vanish. Like the next turn, I'm just sitting there like, okay, well, I guess I replay Galvadon. They've completed their quest. I'm taking 20 a turn. I'm dead. Like it's
great. I mean,
doesn't work. It's just
it's probably the only card where
the worst part I think about Galvadon is the one way to protect the bastard with can't be targeted by spells or hero powers means you can't target him with buffs any further. So if he's got Wind Fury, you can't jam a Blessing of Might on him. So you can't actually buff him up artificially after he exists.
It's true.
He's just the one-time guy. I can't make him work.
He's like a meme. I mean, I kind of think of him as that's like the YouTube video type of
There's
guy.
a reason he's the last Kaleidosaur, dude. They've all been killed. That's my take on this.
Yes, that's a good assessment.
That's my take on Kaleidosaurs.
But just kind of going through this, I guess, Highlander deck that you have here for Priest. It's the Crystalline Oracle, the Cleric, Pint-Sized Potion, and Madness, Powered Shield, Dirty Rat, Loot Hoarder, Radiant Elemental, Shadow Visions, Shadow Word Pain, Acolyte of Pain. Man, these Highlanders are tough to read through. Clueless Ooze, Cabal, Shadow Word Death, Tar Creeper, Infested Tauren, Kazakis. You got to rank 3 with this thing? Priest of the Feast.
Yeah,
Shellward Horror. Wow. Torland Shellraiser, Burgly Bully, Elise. Oh, Elise, yes. Harrison Jones, Holy Nova, Lyra, Raza, Cabal, Shadow Priest, Cairn, Dragon Fire Potion, and Nazoth. All right. Wow. I can't believe you got to 3 with this thing. I might have to just check it out. Right up my alley, man.
It seems like you've got an audio glitch right now. I don't know what it is.
Oh, do I? Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Maybe you're too loud or something.
Oh, maybe it was a little bit too loud. Okay, well, anyway, let me bring up another deck here. So we're gonna go to Druid next, and let's see. This one is yours, right, Noxious?
Yeah, I think that's a token druid, right?
Yeah, Token Druid.
So this is just a token, like a typical token druid. I ended up modifying it a little bit after I submitted it to you, but the point is, token druid is back and it's actually competitive. I feel it's got to be, to my mind. I haven't looked at the stats on it, but I feel like this should be one of the decks with one of the highest win rates. At least it should have had something like that in the first few days. It's just way too good at finishing you off.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was into. I mean that's what got me so excited whenever I saw Living Mana, released, and then even Spores, but Living Mana particularly, just because I've played games where it's like, oh yes, they're out of cards. This is easy, and then all of a sudden, Living Mana 7/2/2s on the board.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
it
wow.
is. It's a Deathwing worth of stats.
It is. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
Even if you like board clear, you technically just went even on card for
That's
card,
true.
mana for mana, right? If
Yeah.
you don't clear, it's like, okay, well, here's 12 damage to your face. So yeah, Living Mana, huge surprise for me. Like we all like kind of knew, like, best case scenario, 12 worth of stats for 5 mana, and I think that's been the how it's used. It's like 12 worth of stats, 12 worth of stats. Because in a deck like this, your opponent's just using all their resources to deal with your 1 drops, your 2 drops, your buffed minions. So that I can't leave a minion up. It's token driven. I have to clear everything. Savage Roar is the thing. And then by the time Living Mana comes down, it's like, well, I'm out of stuff. So yeah.
What's great? I find, or at least when I play against it, whenever they're down to like very little cards, they've obviously mulliganed for minions, and things like that. So whenever they play Living Mana, there's a good shot that they draw something that buffs those guys. Whether it's Savage Roar, or it's an Involving Spore, or it's a Soul of the Forest, or like what normally is a whiff for you, like for that particular instance is game ending. And any card that gives a deck the ability to have, I don't know, even a small percent, like 5%, 3% chance of a miracle victory, that's pretty good. That's like a really good element to have to your deck. And I mean, I think Living Mana is even beyond that. I think you can get the miracle victory with a Living Mana and then a Savage Roar like the following turn. But
it's so satisfying to do, like, just to have Living Mana in your hand and be like, I can go all in on this board and not care because I'm getting 6/2/2s as soon as that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of spots where, especially Mark of the Lotus, I feel, when you have 0 mana because you've exhausted it all to play Living Mana, then you just smash it on top, and that's +1 attack on all your guys. Like this, I feel like Living Mana was sorely unloved. Like we were talking about that last time, right? With Reynad, we were laughing. What about Doppelgangster and Force of Nature? Why are those, like, if those weren't played, I don't see Living Mana being played. Turns out getting 7/2/2s is pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely great. And
right.
It's good to see it. It's definitely good to see that it's out there. And Egg Napper, what do you think of Egg Napper? That's a card that I thought that's a little bit better than I thought. No,
I cut it out for Fledgling at the end of the day. Like,
did
I ended
you?
up modifying this
Wow,
deck. Yeah,
okay.
I modified. Yeah, I've been toying around with many lists, but Fledgling just goes, Innervate Fledgling, and then they go Spectacular, and you go Mark of his Shard, and they go Spectacular, and you just win. So it's one of those things where I feel like, I mean, I'm not saying Ignapper is worse than Fledgling, but I've been finding that the token approach is not, you don't, like, with Living Mana being a thing and your ability to just go and generate tokens through the Adapt on Ravazor runs, through the Adapt on Evolving Spores with Soul of the Forest, with Vibe Teacher. Sometimes you don't have to play Ignapper. Ollie's been fantastic. I've been looking at more of the, not mid-range beasts, but more single beasts that win games that they stick. And that's also worked out with Bittertide Hydra. I'm not sure which list is better. I'm assuming Mass Token is the best, though.
Yeah. I highly recommend everybody go and play this deck, though. Like, it can be a tough one to play, but I think once you start getting it, you'll see Hearthstone in a different way. Like I'm a huge advocate of trying out decks that require different gameplay. And Egg Druid and just this type of token Druid has always been a very, very different style. And it will improve you as a Hearthstone player too if you try this out. And just going, because there's moments where you just got to go all in. You just have to commit and you have to top deck. Like, you just hope that the right card comes, and you learn that those type of scenarios can give you an extra few percentages on your winning percentage if you can figure out when the right time to do that is. So this is a very, very cool deck, and highly, highly recommend it. Okay, well, we're going to talk about some more Druid decks. Before we do that, I want to give a shout out to some of our patrons and iTunes folks. Starting with the iTunes, I want to give a shout out to some of the folks that left us some 5-star reviews this week and some nice words. Mouse Divided and Nathan Kent HS. Thanks so much for doing that. It really helps in terms of people finding Value Town when they're looking for Hearthstone podcasts. And if you guys listen to the show via iTunes, go ahead and do that if you enjoy the show. That would be amazing, and it would help us greatly. Also, the patrons, Value Town is still 100% supported by the Patreon right now. And these are the folks that make the show happen each week, guys. Literally, if it wasn't for these folks, we wouldn't be doing this. And big thanks to our legend producers, Mike T and Richard S., as well as a few others: Davin P, Havoc, North Cal, Thomas O, Gregory W, Bruce W, Justin C, Eric L, Matthew H, and that's the last one. So thanks a lot, guys, for doing that. It really means a lot to us. And no Smilestone today, guys. Unfortunately, we're under the milestone. So if you like Smilestone, go and consider pledging some. Or if you haven't, or if you're not a patron right now, go and consider making a pledge there. I do want to announce that we're going to start a deck of the week now with the patrons. And what that is, guys, is we're going to pick a deck. And I'm going to pick one of the decks from today. It might be this Druid, actually. I think this Druid is potentially a good one to try out. And what we're going to do is have just us on the show as well, at least me and Noxious, as well as all the patrons play the decks. Get a sense for how your winning percentages are, and then we'll get together on Monday and do an extra hour show, mini show on my stream, and just get all the patrons together and we talk about it, just like what we learned from playing the decks and that sort of fun collaborative community thing that we can do with the patrons. So I'll put some more details on that on the Patreon site, so all the patrons will receive get all the details. And if you're interested in it, definitely email me at valuetown@chanmanv.tv and I can tell you some more about it. But yeah, anyways, thanks, guys. You guys are amazing, and the support that we've had for the show has just been just so great in 2017. I can't express how happy we've been, and it just helps us from a standpoint of motivation and the spirit of doing the show. Okay, so let's talk about Anaconda.